Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at the denoise command, which you'll find both in Photoshop's Camera Raw and within Lightroom. And this is a fantastic tool for fixing noisy images, particularly those shot at high ISO. So you can see I've got a range of high ISO images here. If I just bring up the metadata here, you can see this is shot at 25,600 ISO. Similarly, this one too. And then we have this one at 9,000 ISO, this one at 22,800, and this one at, again, 25,600 ISO. And I'm going to start by highlighting them all here in Adobe Bridge, and I can right click and I'm going to open them in Camera Raw, but as I say, you can find the exact same control in Lightroom. So we'll open into Camera Raw and let's take a look at this image here. Now, if we zoom in close, you can see I've got a shot of this gorgeous bird here, but it's incredibly noisy, and if I want to make a decent image, I'm going to have to do a pretty heavy crop. So this is going to be a real test. So I'm going to start by grabbing my crop tool here in Camera Raw, and I'm just going to, as I say, make a really extreme crop to getting close to that bird. So of course you probably wouldn't want to go in this tight normally, but let's just see how the tool deals with this. I'm just going to perhaps move it up slightly like that. So at the moment my image is looking pretty horrible. We got this really heavy noise caused by that high ISO, and the colours are really looking rather insipid and faded. But if we go down to our detail panel here, we'll find a denoise button. Now this is a new feature. You'll find the manual noise reduction controls below it, those familiar sliders there. But in the test that I've done, I found that the denoise feature pretty much always gives a better result than the manual noise reduction controls, especially with these really high ISO grainy photos. So I'm going to click denoise and we'll see what happens. And you can see it doing its work here in the preview window. And just look at that. If I move the image around here by dragging the preview, you can see the difference between the before and after. And it's really done a fantastic job of cleaning up that graininess. And we can, if we like, move the square around to choose different parts of the frame. We can use the preview box here again to move things around. A great feature here is the amount slider, and this lets us of course control the strength of the overall effect. So we can bring it down if we want to retain some of that graininess. You can see even at 1 we sort of see a little bit of denoise in action, but as we drag it up you can see that noise magically disappears. And I think quite a heavy setting is going to work for my image here. And that's really all there is to it. We see an estimated time here for the image to be processed, so we can hit enhance, and we can see a little progress bar at the bottom left here that shows us how long it's going to take. And what it's doing is creating a completely separate file, an Adobe DNG RAW file, and that's the file being displayed now. If we zoom in closer, you can see the difference there between the really grainy version and this much improved version. Not only is that grainy noise vastly better, we're also getting much better colors here. You can see how we're seeing the reds and the blues in the head of the bird here. If we bring up our film strip here, we can see our original will sit alongside that new DNG version that's just been created. So my original is an NEF RAW file and the new version is a DNG. So if we just go back to our original here and zoom in, you can see that was our original image and this is our improved version. Look at the colors, they're so much better. And then of course we can go on and fine tune things by just making a series of adjustments. Let's just try boosting the color even more here. Let's just zoom out and see how we're looking, and we'll hide our film strip for now. And of course we can just go on and tweak things until we're happy. And we might also want to apply sharpening. Sometimes when using denoise or the manual noise reduction controls, the results can end up a little bit soft and smudgy, so you might want to just apply sharpening just to fine-tune things. If we zoom in a little closer, you can see I can increase the sharpening and the radius. I'm starting to see a little bit of graininess, but I don't mind that. I think that's better than a really sort of smushy image. So I think a little bit of noise is not necessarily a bad thing. And if we zoom out again, that's pretty much my finished image. So we've transformed what's basically an unusable image into something that I'd quite happily display. Now, Denoise is so good that I'd happily run it on a whole set of photos, and that's exactly what I've done with my other images here. So you can see I've got the original version and a version I've run through the Denoise filter. And if you do want to batch process, it's very easy. You just need to highlight the files here. We can hold Command or Control and click on them to highlight the original images, and then we can go back into Denoise here. We can click on Denoise and that will open up the enhanced dialog, or we can hold Alt and click on Denoise and that will bypass the enhanced dialog and just run our last use settings on those images, which is exactly what I've just done to come up with the improved version. And let's just take a quick look through these images here. So this is an image shot at 25,600 ISO, and the original here is looking really noisy, but if we go to our improved version, look at the difference there. That's pretty incredible, where it's illegible and then all of a sudden we're seeing fantastic fine details. Similarly, let's have a look at our portrait here. The original is looking really noisy. The improved version is so much better. Look at that. Look at the difference there. Now let's have a look at this one here. And this was shot at 9,000 ISO, so slightly less grainy than those last ones. But look at the noise here in the blurry areas compared to the cleaned up version. That's pretty much perfect. You really wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that image shot at 9,000 ISO and one shot at even 100 ISO. And finally, we'll look at a landscape image here. This was the grainy, noisy version, and the improved version. There's so much more potential there for a really great detailed landscape shot. And if we go back to our bird image, it's worth noting, because of course I made that heavy crop, we might want to use super resolution, which allows us to double the width and height of the image, but we can't do that. If we go back to enhance here by right clicking, you can see we don't get the option to apply super resolution. In fact, if we just try it on another image here, let's just go to enhance here, you can see we can use denoise here, but we can't use super resolution. But if we uncheck denoise, then we can use super resolution. So you sort of can't use both at once, which is a bit annoying if you want to apply it to a heavy cropped image like this. But there's a workaround. We can just right click and save our image and then save it as a TIFF, and then we can open that TIFF back up into Camera Raw or Lightroom and apply super resolution to the TIFF instead. So there we go. That's a quick look at the fantastic new Denoise command in Camera Raw and Lightroom.